The fire began as a flicker in the dry foothills of Los Angeles, barely noticed in the chaos of a city that never sleeps. It was a typical late summer afternoon, the kind of day when the relentless heat of the season was amplified by the bone-dry Santa Ana winds. To most, the faint plume of smoke rising in the distance was just another part of the landscape, blending with the perpetual haze of pollution. But by the time dusk arrived, that faint plume had grown into an ominous column, thick and dark, billowing upward and blotting out the setting sun. The winds, as they so often did, carried the fire quickly, turning it into a monster that roared across the brittle, drought-stricken brushlands. What began as a small spark, likely caused by a careless cigarette or a downed power line, soon transformed into an unstoppable inferno that devoured everything in its path. By nightfall, the hills glowed an eerie orange, the flames dancing wildly as they consumed acres of dry vegetation, homes, and anything else unfortunate enough to stand in their way. Firefighters from across the state were deployed, their engines speeding through clogged freeways and side streets as they raced against time. The city seemed to pulse with anxiety, the thick, acrid smell of smoke hanging heavy in the air even miles away from the flames. Those who lived in the hills scrambled to evacuate, packing their cars with essentials, pets, photo albums, legal documents, and whatever irreplaceable items they could grab in the panic moments before leaving their homes behind. The roads were chaotic, filled with vehicles inching their way down steep, winding streets, their headlights cutting through the haze of smoke and ash. For many, the journey to safety was marked by a mixture of desperation and disbelief. Some had lived in those hills for decades, their homes a sanctuary amid the sprawling metropolis below. Now, they watched in rearview mirrors as the flames advanced, their fate uncertain. The firefighters, clad in heavy protective gear, battled the blaze with every resource they had. Their faces were grim and streaked with soot as they worked tirelessly through the night, wielding hoses and shovels against a force of nature that seemed almost sentient in its ferocity. Helicopters circled overhead, dumping massive loads of water and fire retardant, their rotors slicing through the smoky sky. On the ground, bulldozers carved fire breaks into the parched earth, desperate attempts to slow the fire's relentless advance. Yet, the winds rendered many of these efforts futile. The flames leapt across roads and rivers, embers carried miles ahead to ignite new blazes in an endless cycle of destruction. The roar of the fire was deafening, a constant reminder of its power and unpredictability. Meanwhile, the city below seemed to hold its breath, the usual hum of life muted by the enormity of the disaster unfolding in its midst. Schools and businesses closed, their buildings shrouded in a fine layer of ash that settled like a grim snowfall. Streets far from the fire's reach were eerily empty, the usual hustle and bustle replaced by an uneasy stillness. The sky, once a brilliant blue, was now a murky orange-gray, casting an unnatural glow over the city. Hospitals braced for an influx of patients suffering from smoke inhalation and burns, their emergency rooms already stretched thin. Shelters quickly filled with evacuees, their faces etched with worry and exhaustion as they tried to piece together what little information they had about the fate of their homes and neighborhoods. As the days wore on, the fire showed no signs of relenting. It tore through canyons and crept closer to iconic landmarks, threatening places like the Getty Museum and the Griffith Observatory. Fire crews worked around the clock to protect these cultural treasures, their efforts bolstered by fire-resistant barriers and sprinkler systems that had been installed in preparation for just such an event. Still, the fire's unpredictability kept everyone on edge. Entire neighborhoods were evacuated as the flames advanced, leaving behind ghost towns of empty streets and silent houses, their windows reflecting the fiery glow in the distance. Social media became a lifeline for many, a way to share updates, coordinate evacuations, and offer support to those affected. Hashtags dedicated to the fire trended worldwide, bringing attention to the plight of Los Angeles and the heroism of the firefighters on the front lines. Celebrities used their platforms to raise awareness and funds, their posts offering glimpses of the devastation and calls to action for their millions of followers. Ordinary citizens pitched in as well, donating clothes, food, and money to aid those who had lost everything. The city, so often criticized for its sprawling disconnection, seemed to come together in the face of the disaster, a testament to the resilience and compassion of its people. By the end of the first week, the fire had scorched more than 100,000 acres, leaving a path of destruction that stretched as far as the eye could see. Entire hillsides were reduced to ash, their once vibrant ecosystems obliterated. The wildlife that called these hills home suffered immensely, with countless animals either fleeing or perishing in the flames. The charred remains of deer, coyotes, and birds served as a grim reminder of the fire's toll on the natural world. For the people of Los Angeles, the loss was just as profound. Homes, some of them passed down through generations, were gone. Family heirlooms, irreplaceable memories captured in photographs and mementos, were lost forever. The landscape of the city was forever changed, its scars visible from every vantage point. Finally, after nearly 2 weeks of relentless burning, the winds began to die down, and the fire's advance slowed. Firefighters, aided by cooler temperatures and a brief but welcome rainstorm, managed to gain the upper hand. Containment lines held, and the inferno, though still dangerous, began to recede. The city breathed a collective sigh of relief as the flames retreated, leaving behind a smoldering wasteland that bore little resemblance to the vibrant hills that had once defined the skyline. In the aftermath, the process of recovery began. Teams of investigators combed through the ashes, searching for the fire's point of origin and clues about its cause. Scientists and environmentalists studied the damage, assessing the long-term impact on the region's fragile ecosystems. City officials vowed to implement stricter regulations and invest in fire prevention measures, determined to learn from the tragedy. Meanwhile, the people of Los Angeles came together to rebuild. Volunteers cleared debris from neighborhoods, while architects and designers worked with residents to create homes that were not only beautiful but more resistant to future fires. Artists painted murals of hope and resilience on walls blackened by smoke, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the devastation around them. For those who had lost loved ones, the road to healing was long and painful. Memorials were held to honor the lives lost, their stories a poignant reminder of the fire's human cost. Communities organized support groups and counseling sessions, offering solace to those grappling with the trauma of the disaster. Amid the grief, there were also stories of heroism and survival, tales of firefighters who had risked everything to save lives, and neighbors who had gone above and beyond to help one another in their darkest hours. These stories became a source of inspiration, a testament to the strength and compassion of the human spirit. Over time, the hills began to heal as well. The first signs of regrowth appeared in the form of tiny green shoots sprouting from the blackened earth, a symbol of nature's resilience. Wildlife slowly returned, their presence a reminder that life, though fragile, has a way of enduring even the most devastating events. The people of Los Angeles took comfort in these small victories, finding hope in the midst of their sorrow. The fire left a mark on Los Angeles that would never fade, a reminder of the city's vulnerability and the challenges it faced in an era of increasingly extreme weather. But it also revealed the strength and solidarity of its people, their ability to come together in the face of unimaginable loss. As the city rebuilt, it carried with it the lessons of the fire, a renewed commitment to protecting its communities and the natural beauty that made Los Angeles such a unique and cherished place. In the end, the fire was not just a story of destruction but one of resilience, a testament to the enduring spirit of a city that refused to be broken.